Hi, I'm Sophie Wendell and I'm from Sheffield Digital. Today I'm talking to Allan Noy, who currently works as a visual and UX designer for Hive IT. Hi, Allan.
Yeah.
So, why did you decide to become a visual and UX designer?
It was a long road. So I initially came out of university as a graphic designer, specialized in illustration, and I came out into the recession, so that was fun. So there was no jobs going, and I was trying to find anything to grab onto that was design, and that I wouldn't be working in sort of 9 to 5 office data inputting job.
Mm-hmm.
So I was searching on lots of itty bitty jobs of graphic design here and there, and then I guess I stumbled upon Hive. So previously I'd done a lot of data visualization. So for a lot of big companies, I used to do smartened up their graphs and made the data look a little nicer, which helped me sort of transition, as Hive needed something of that sort at the start of a project, and they called me in out of the blue. So I applied, brought my portfolio along, and they liked it, and I jumped in. And I think that was probably, I'm very young in my career, so it was probably 5 years ago today, that I jumped in and had basically changed my thinking completely. So it was a bit more product design, and I think it was scary. I didn't usually do digital stuff at all. I usually just did print and posters, and yeah, it was a scary step, but it was fun, because it was like being thrown into sort of a baptism of fire type things, and I think that's probably the best way to learn any of it. So yeah, I think that's where I started my career. It was thrown into a big project, and then
so
quite a few times.
It certainly wasn't a conscious choice to go into digital and tech design at all.
No, I think it was with anything in design, you had a career path in mind, and then this is the way you're going to go. But things turn and weave, and then you find your little niche. You just happen to fall into it, and yeah, it always happens in design.
Yeah. Okay, so that's cool. I guess it in terms of these interviews and kind of helping people maybe change career, I think that quite clearly shows that you don't have to be a techie person when you start out, especially in visual and UX design. And it's, like you said, a lot of it is things that you learn on the job just by making mistakes and diving into it. So what does a typical day doing your job look like?
I used to ask these questions at interviews. It's always a key interview question I always ask.
Yeah, no pressure.
A typical day, and this would always be the answer as well. I can't really define a typical average day, because if you're working for an agency, which I enjoy, because you get loads of different little projects, so you're not stuck on, there's almost two types. You could be stuck on a major project, say, for example, like Spotify, you'd be working on that product. But been working for an agency, you tend to shift around quite a lot, and so your role almost evolves for whatever project it needs to be. And because we're a small team, you need to either jump into the more research UX side, or you need to jump into the more design side. My typical day is wake up and see what Slack's been shouting at me from the day before, and then just jumping into stand-ups and talking to project managers, and that basically telling me what I need to do that day, which is nice, having a set of project managers basically go, right, these are your tasks for the day, these are the projects you're working on. But it can include anything from client meetings, or critiques, from feedback from your own peers on particular designs. Can be, I'm trying to think of what a typical day is, but it can be, you could be just solely focused on just doing design work all day, or you could be in meeting after meeting after meeting of design, trying to solve problems about, this particular feature doesn't really work, or none of the users are really locking onto this. And then there's the user testing. So you have to be pretty much an all-rounder, and it's really good for people who don't like overly routine days. So you don't have, doing this in the morning and doing this in the afternoon and doing this. It can be you're doing this in the morning, but then suddenly there's a small little project in the middle of the day. And so you have to jump on that, or someone else needs your help on a particular thing because it's not working. And then you jump onto that. And then clients coming in to ask for a new project. So you need to jump into that. So it can be, it's really varied. So it definitely doesn't suit people who like a standard day, but it suits people who just like jumping into everything.
Yeah, a really good mix and variety between days where you just do your own thing and days where you're kind of talking to a lot of people. Okay, so this is probably quite a good one for you because this was a fresh career for you when you started in it. So how have you been supported in your career development and progression?
So I don't know if I've just been really lucky, but I think Hive basically supported me heavily all the way through this. They knew that going in that I suppose they just saw me as a sort of designer, had that spark. And then I guess the first thing they did was chuck me onto, so they do a lot of tech for good projects. So they're slightly lower paid, obviously, because you need to make, but they're good proving grounds for younger people in the field who haven't had much experience, because obviously you're doing a bit more work for free. So there's less pressure on you to perform to a major company, but you're doing something good as well. And I guess it's just jumping into being put on those projects like with almost no support, but like learning from jumping into those projects, making lots of mistakes, and learning from those mistakes. Also having a good mentor on the team, so someone that's been really experienced. So that was also good. So I've been allowed to sort of shadow almost in workshops, just to sit there and sort of watch how someone would interact with clients, work through the different steps, what the different steps are. And then I think Hive also provided me with a sort of training. And I think that's super important. They set time aside for me to be able to train, make sure that I've if I'm interested in a particular area of a subject, they let me go, look, I've found this course and I really want to be able to see what I can do on this. And just that allowance has let me sort of develop more, I guess.
Okay, so a lot of it is kind of like self-directed. You pick the things and then you're given time to focus on it, but also just learning from more experienced people and being given your own projects to cut your teeth on. Awesome. So having kind of 5 years in the role is enough time, I would say, to kind of figure out what the most important skills are to do your job well. What do you think those are?
Important skills. I think one of my top ones that I learned recently is empathy. It is a weird esoteric thing, but it's like you need that. You need to be able to step into other people's shoes when working through design. We all know about persona. Well, some of us might know about personas, how we try and find out, the users that would use our product or thing, or people who use a particular thing, getting inside their head and then approaching the same problems that you reach, but from their point of view is, I think, one of the most important things you can do. Just basically walking in other people's shoes and be prepared to just like be able to sort of sit in a sort of different roles and then look at the same thing and go, that might not work for this particular person. I think obviously the problem solving thing, which always comes up, but problem solving, you have to love a good puzzle. because there'll be loads of times when there's like, you'll hit deadlock with the client wanting one thing and you want the other thing, and the users want another thing, and you've got to figure out how to make all that work in one. And I think that leads on to being able to take critique as well. Being able to take feedback without feeling like personally hurt. Early in my career, when you're creating something you spend a lot of time in, and someone just sort of rips it apart, it almost rips you because you've got a lot of effort into it, but you've almost got to go step back and just go on, just rip through my work. I stick all my work up on the walls and then let everyone else come in and basically go, what do you think of this? And I want you to basically encourage you to find things wrong with it, because it helps me more.
Yeah.
And it will help your career more, because it will see what problems and see what other people see. It's hard to say, but criticism is good when it's constructive.
Yeah.
And I suppose the other two things is always learn, always be learning, never stop learning. It's important, especially in tech as well, because you will come up with loads of new stuff, and there'll be loads of new software, and there'll be loads of new techniques, and they're constantly changing and innovating. And in order to keep on top of them, you have to stay curious, and you have to keep on learning all those new things, which is fine if you enjoy it. But sometimes, you can't get stuck in your old ways in this role. You have to go, that's not working anymore, and this is the new way of doing things.
Yeah.
And I suppose the last one is being able to facilitate a workshop. I think is a major thing you need for this job. Being able to rally sort of clients and get the information you need out of them, which is quite difficult if you're a bit more introverted. But there are courses out there that tell you how to do facilitation techniques and how to get the most out of your audience. But I think those are really important, and will get you far in whatever role, because you'll be able to sort of get ideas out of people, get feedback out of people, and work through the whole job is almost based around workshops. So
yeah. Okay, so my next question was going to be, how do you think it's best to learn and develop these skills? But some of them, like kind of developing empathy and being able to take criticism, those are, I guess, things that you just build on as you get experience and get exposed to more situations like that. Obviously, problem solving and staying curious, wanting to learn things are kind of more personal traits.
Yeah.
But for the being able to host and run workshops, you've already mentioned some courses. How would you say it's best to do courses first, or like courses and then just try running them? Is there any specific approach?
I would say probably take a course or read up about it, because it's one of those things that has hundreds of techniques out there, and there's loads of different ways, and you will have to probably find the ones you feel most comfortable doing, and work with, and you find works well. And it's one of those cases of just doing what you need to do. It's just jumping into something. The best way to learn is probably just to run a workshop or help run a workshop. I mean, there's plenty of people out there that want websites or want a piece of app software that you could run a workshop for. And if you're at the beginning of your career, you could either run them for dirt cheap or for free, which should help you at least get the sort of experience and the feeling of how to get the best out of people. It's one of those things you just have to do it, and there has to be people there, and you can read all the theory you want, but it changes when you're in the situation, because you also have to be quite adaptable in it, because sometimes you go, that's not working, not working, or I need to change tact and try and find a different way. I think there's a lot of sort of meetups and groups out there when pre-COVID that used to do more charitable apps, so like like a refugee app or mental health type apps. There's loads of little groups out there that you could probably help out in. I think I did a few of those. You know, you just bring your set of skills along, and helps. You're helping a good cause, and you're helping yourself to get better at something as well. So yeah, doing it, just doing it is probably a lot better than a lot of the theory, but obviously you need some of the fundamentals behind you.
Yeah, I guess like a basic grounding in the structure of them and what you're looking to get out of them is something to read up on. But then, like you said, there's loads of kind of free ways to practice that skill without already having the job. So you could kind of work on that before applying to places if you wanted to. Okay, cool. So what is the most challenging aspect of the role?
I think the most challenging aspect is, I think personally for me, I'm quite introvert, man, and this job does require meeting a lot of people. So it takes a lot of effort in order for me to sort of like, some of the people I work with, effortless for them, effortless. For me, it takes a little more effort to try and figure things out, and then, you know, meet the clients and make them feel safe, and then take them through a process. I think that's probably the most challenging personally for me. It's just yeah, and that built in, that takes work and takes effort, but yeah, you can get past. For in general, you'll come across a lot of little problems along the way. I think the most challenging thing is trying to manage expectations and also make sure that people are pleased with the product they get at the end. Yeah, you will have to battle management, which is a pain a lot of the times, because their opinion differs from, say, the general work people who, you know, who work at the company. You know, their differing opinions might conflict, and then you're trying to design something where one person wants one thing and one person wants the other. You get those, but you've just got to work through those. I think those are possibly the most challenging things.
Okay, and the most enjoyable?
Personally, I like to design, so I like picking the colors, creating the icons, putting all those things together. I think that's probably the most enjoyable thing apart for me. So, like, you know, I can get quite nerdy about fonts, and I can get quite nerdy about color choices and how the colors work, and you know, you go into sort of focus mode on those things. I think the other enjoyable thing is just learning about other people's behaviors, like how users react to things. I think I like the psychology of how people react to certain things, and how people, you know, like a particular color or don't like a particular color, or will act a certain way because of this. And I also like learning about, because we're as an agency, you meet loads of different people, and learning about, you know, how their day goes, or how their users go, or what type of customers they usually get, and how they think, or how the staff thinks, or just learning like all those little things and those little human behaviors and quirks are quite interesting for me. And you always come back with loads of like almost pub quiz type knowledge from various different little things about, you know, so you can be working with pubs at one time, like, oh, I didn't know that about that. Or you could be working with, like, you know, a big agency who works in, I don't know, schools or something, and then you're like, oh, I didn't even know that. So you get lots of cool little facts. So if you really want to do a pub quiz, you're quite knowledgeable about loads of different subjects. So it never gets boring. I think that's a big thing as well.
Okay, yeah, I guess, you know, because every user is a completely different person and every client is completely different. It's like an endless journey of discovery.
Yeah,
that's cool. And you get to be awesome at pub quizzes as a result. Yeah. So 2 bonuses. So finally, where would you advise someone to start when considering a career in either visual design or UX? I know they can be separated out sometimes.
I was lucky because I just applied at a place that sort of accepted me and pulled me in. as I worked there, I found out that, again, this is pre or post COVID, but going to meetups, Chef UX is probably the big one in Sheffield. Going to those things is invaluable. Again, you have to sort of step out of your comfort zone if you don't like meeting people, but you'll learn something new about UX because they usually have a talk, and then you'll get to meet the people that generally in the community. I can always keep an eye out for you if there's any like small little jobs to go in or things like that. There are also smaller meetups, sort of jams type sessions that are out there. I think finding those could be very useful because then again you make new contacts and you're using skills. You can test stuff out and work through things. But again, I learned this in the recession. When there's no jobs out there for you, you just create your own job. Basically, is probably one of the just start it up yourself so you can tailor your job role, and then there's always people out there looking for help, and so yeah, by having that's another way in, I guess.
That's great advice, and definitely a lot of things people can still be doing even during lockdown and definitely post lockdown. That's great. Thank you very much.